Hello there. I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. I'm an attorney and legal coach based in Seattle, Washington. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. I'm so excited to share with you my new friend, Joe Nicassio. And like 2 seconds ago, I learned that his last name means victory house. So I just want to kick that off because I feel like you're going to be in very good hands today. I love Joe's bio. When I ask people, to come on the show and ask them for a short bio, most people have it all about themselves, even though they're accustomed to being on podcasts and being on shows. And what I love about Joe's bio is you're going to hear at first about how it's about you, right? Contrary to popular belief, succeeding in business is not risky or accidental. It's about doing something you love, sharing that love through effective marketing, and receiving love in the form of cash from grateful clients. I love that, from grateful clients. When you align your passions with proven principles, success is inevitable. Since 1999, Joe Nicassio has been working with startup entrepreneurs and seasoned business owners to do just that. He has worked with over 2,000 people from over 300 different industries. If you want to learn some tactics you can put to work in your business today, pay attention to Joe. He's an advisor you can trust. So Joe and I were just talking, and he's also an engineer. That's his background. And he's the author of Resurrecting, America's Entrepreneurial Spirit. Welcome, Joe. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah, so fun. So I always like to ask people about their own entrepreneurial path. How did you get started? What was the point where you decided entrepreneurship was your path?
Well, I took 4 years of high school electronics, and when I was a junior, a man came into my electronics teacher and said, "Who's your best student?" And he hired me at a place called Independent Electronics. So I had a job, but I was working for a man who was he was an entrepreneur, and he had our shirt said, "I'm independent." And just having that spirit of independence. Now I went on to have other jobs. My journey has been, I used to work for Sanyo Electric, repairing consumer electronics, every kind of consumer electronics. I've been a TV repairman. I go back to the days of vacuum tubes. I used to have a television antenna installation service that I joint ventured with somebody way back in the day. I had a job installing and inspecting electrical equipment in surgery rooms. To make sure that they were safe, so that when a doctor was performing surgery, that the patient didn't get electrocuted while they were using the instrumentation. There's safety devices for that. That's in the code. I used to work as a field engineer for Eastman Kodak, and I've had many, many jobs. I think I found that, no matter how hard I worked, I could never get ahead as an employee. And I had one incident that was really, I think it was the snapping point that made me decide to never work for somebody again. Want to hear that quick story?
Yeah.
So I was working at Sun Computers, the retail store, back in the day when we were selling Apple Macintosh computers in retail stores before they had Apple stores. And I was a kick-ass salesperson. I sold a lot of product. My customers loved me. I always gave out my personal pager number if you ever have a problem. I was really good at it, and I had a lot of people that loved it. And our manager went on vacation to Colorado on a ski trip. And while she was there, I was working, and a guy named Gary was running the store. He wasn't even a full manager. But that day at 2:00 in the afternoon, I got a call that, I was in Torrance, California. I got a call. My dad was in the hospital at Loma Linda University. He had a heart attack. And I asked Gary, "Can I go see my dad at the hospital?" He's like, "Joe, we're shorthanded. You got to work out your shift till 7. So, I did. And at 7, I asked Gary, "Is it okay?" That's the first disappointment, right? Then at 7, I asked Gary, "Is it okay if I see my dad?" It was quitting time, and he said, "Sure, go." So I drove out. That was a Friday. Came back on Monday. The manager was back in the office, and she goes, "Joe, where were you on Friday?" And I said, my dad had a heart attack, and I went to go see him at 7. And I'm like, it was a weird interrogation. I'm like, why do you ask? And she said, because after you left, some guys came into the store with weapons and ski masks, and they stole all the computers and locked Gary in the warehouse. And I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. Of course I had nothing at all to do with it. So about a month later, I just continued working. And a month later they came in and they said, Joe, we need to terminate your employment. I'm like, why? And they said, because remember that burglary? I'm like, yeah, I had nothing to do with it. And they said, well, the insurance company won't pay the check unless you fix the problem of why it happened. And apparently there was a policy that 2 people had to be in the store at lockup. And even though I had permission to leave, I was supposed to stay there. And so they terminated me, and I went to an employment attorney and see what kind of rights I had. And I had no rights, because in California, you're employed at will, at cause. They can hire you for any reason. They could fire you for any reason. And the only people that they can't fire is somebody that has an employment contract, like, LeBron James. They have contracts, but 9 out of 10 people don't have an employment contract. And I thought, how terrible is it for me to work hard, get great results, love my job, have customers love me, and they still terminate me because the insurance company wouldn't, I had nothing to do with that, but that was the thing that allowed them to collect money for the insurance payment, was my soul. They sold out my soul for a check. And I wrote letters to ask for my job back. I didn't do it. But, I really got angry. I'm like, I am never, ever going to allow somebody have that control over my life again. And I actually came up with a phrase that, a godly attribute is self-reliance. And what we've done is created a culture of employer reliance. Mm-hmm. And I made a commitment, never, ever, ever again will I put myself in a situation where someone else controls my career and can throw me in the trash because they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So that was a decision point. There's a lot of other things. My journey, God has put me on a strange obstacle course to shape me, because this is a calling from God. I believe the work I do.
Well, and you raise a really interesting point, because I think, so first of all, statistically speaking, I think somewhere, less than 10% of people become entrepreneurs or essentially create their own livelihood, right?
Well, that's historically, I'm the one that's going to change that. Okay.
I love that.
I wrote a book about this, Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit, because most people are, so there's this thing called the entrepreneur paradox. On the one hand, everybody wants to have a business, but on the other hand, everybody's scared shitless.
Right.
Okay. There's a tremendous amount of fear. And so we don't children are born as geniuses and then conditioned into mediocrity, and children don't lack capacity. They lack mentors. And the problem is our education doesn't teach entrepreneurship effectively. We have university programs and people still go out and fail. But we also can see many people go out and they succeed over and over and over again. And so, in our country, it's real interesting. When I wrote my book, in America, we program children to go to school, get a good education, and be somebody else's servant.
That's right.
In other countries, they teach their kids, go to America. It's the land of opportunity. You can start your own company and get rich. Okay. And it's amazing how many foreigners come here. And I believe that people succeed or people fail as entrepreneurs because they were always discouraged from doing it. They were encouraged to go to school, get a good education, and be somebody else's biatch. I mean,
well, you are accurate that our education system is really designed to create employees. It's designed to create people who follow rules and work inside of somebody else's system, right? I think it was designed during the Industrial Revolution, and you had to put people into jobs, and you had to create those, people from a young age, and so they got shaped in our education system.
If you were working for Ford Motor Company as a assembly line worker, you had a normal job, but if you had extra education, you could be promoted into management. Even one of the most coveted degrees we have now is the Masters of Business Administration, which means they train you to administer somebody else's business. They don't teach you to be a master of business creation or master of effective business creation, but that's my domain.
Right. Well, and
That's what I
I just,
teach.
yeah, and I love your approach, and I share the same perspective that as entrepreneurs, we actually have the opportunity to create more security for ourselves than we would have anywhere else. And people often get that wrong. They think, oh, a job is the security, working for somebody else is the
No,
security.
that's giving away your power. Yeah. Yeah. So check this out. We're all self-employed. If you have a business and you have 100 customers, you lose one. You're self-employed with 99 customers. If you have a job, you're self-employed with one customer that doesn't necessarily even have a way of maximizing your upside. And if you're unemployed, you are self-employed with no customers. So we're all self-employed. And we need to really take ownership that, you know, a lot of people now, they've been dislodged. They don't have work because of COVID-19 and all that.
Right.
And what I do is I teach you to find employment through self-employment. At some point, you need to look in the mirror and say, you know, I have talents, I have skills, I have abilities. We all have, check this out. We spend money on stuff. You spend money on stuff, and there's a common thread in all of our spending. We spend money on things that improve our conditions. Why do you eat at the nice restaurant versus cooking at home? Because it's nice. It improves my lifestyle. Sometimes we like to cook at home. Why do we do that? Because it improves our life. Why do we get our brakes fixed on our car? Because life is better with functional brakes than dysfunctional brakes. And so we spend money on that stuff. And if we want to receive money, the most important thing is how are we organizing ourselves to give to others to make other people's lives better. When people say, wow, my life is better because I hired Heather, you know, she'll help me get my legal stuff together. I'll be protected. She can maximize my profits, make sure I'm paying the minimum taxes. The only reason they're going to spend money with Heather is because life is better with Heather versus not with Heather. And the same thing with me. And so that's where I teach people to have confidence that they can start their own business. It starts, what's your confidence in your ability to make somebody else's life better? I mean, even if all you know how to do is clean homes, you can make people's lives better as a home cleaner. Or if you know how to push a lawnmower, you can make, now that may not be the highest contribution you have, because there's two ways we pay people money: hands and brains. And so when we pay small money for hands, we pay bigger money for brains. And so we can organize ourselves in better ways. But anybody, if you have the ability to make somebody's life better, then here's, I had coffee mugs just made up. It says, I will solve your problems and you will pay me gratefully and generously. And that's what we need to own as entrepreneurs, showing up as a problem solver, as a solution provider, in exchange for, there's a cost to doing business with me, and there's a cost to not doing business with me. And you don't have to buy from me. And the cost is you get to stay stuck where you are, or you can do business with me and I can give you the improvements that I uniquely offer. Everybody has the ability to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I think there was a video, and I can't remember the man's voice behind it, but it was really profound when I saw it. And it was floating around the internet a few years ago, that talks about, what if we had a whole, group or world full of people doing what they love, doing what they're here to do.
That's what it's all about.
Right? And not going to a job. And that really is what is behind my whole mission as an attorney who has basically, I've created a whole second business as a way to meet the needs of entrepreneurs whose legal needs are not being met by the traditional legal industry. Like, I care so much that, sorry, that's my sister.
Yeah, and I agree. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. If you're not enjoying what you do, my whole thing, so I invented this thing, which is the intention. Like before you start a business, the number one thing you want to do is set your intention. And I've set 3 intentions for people. Number one is do what you love for yourself and your clients. You can't just do what you love for yourself, because everything you want in life is controlled by someone else. If you want a piece of real estate, it's controlled by the owner. If you want a car, it's controlled. If you want love, it's controlled by, the object of your desires. Okay. And so and if you want cash, it's controlled by other people. So everything you want in life is controlled by others. So do what you love for yourself and others. And, I break that into choosing your business wisely and building a brand that makes sense and having an offer you love to offer and people love to buy and you love to provide that service for. The second piece is share the love. Share the love through good storytelling. Share the love through your promotions and your marketing, and share the love after people raise their hand. Continue to share the love, because we need to do lead generation, but we also need to do lead nurturing. And so we need to continue to share the love when people raise their hand. And we need to share the love through our service and through effective marketing. And then the third part is receiving the love. Receiving the love in form of gratitude and cash. The first way love shows up is people contact you. They schedule appointments with you. They raise their hand. They say, I'm interested. And then, you start receiving the love when you have conversations that turn into cash. And then there is a love associated with, now that you've been paid and you're doing the work, there is a fulfillment that you receive knowing that I'm getting paid. I wake up every day. I love what I do. I'm a massive contribution to the people I serve. And oh, wow, by the way, they even pay me to do this. That's what it's all about. And when you set your intention to do what you love, share the love so you can receive the love, and organize and intentionally create that, you now become a business entrepreneur alchemist. And see, the big challenge for most people is they are in careers by default instead of being in a career by design. And that's the work that I love doing, is helping people figure out what is your magic, what are your skills, what are your passions, and how can we organize that so that you can wake up every day making this kind of contribution and getting paid for it and loving what you do. Because like I said, if you're not having fun, you're really doing something wrong.
Yes. And what I love even about the language you're using is, to me at least, it really speaks to the importance of, and really the fact that doing business is relational, right? It's relationship driven and based, which is the only way that you get to the point of really experiencing love associated with your work, and appreciation and gratitude from people that will happily pay you. And I think a lot of folks get so conditioned, maybe through the marketplace or through working at larger companies
Jobs.
or whatever,
Yeah,
jobs, that
you
it's
show up for a
strictly
paycheck, not to
transactional.
make people's life better.
That's right. It's transactional, and making that shift from transactions to relationship, yes, is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. My mentor, Jay Abraham, he said, the most selfish thing you can do is be selfless. The more you pour out the love to others. I got a story of a girl that I knew in a class, and she was an actress, and she was really good, and she did martial arts, and she was pretty, and she had good demo reels and a website and all that. And she wasn't getting a lot of acting gigs. And so during this class, we invented a new possibility. She invented a new possibility for herself. A lot of people, when they go on an audition, they go because they like their craft, but there's part of them that I need this paycheck to pay my rent. And the new possibility she invented for herself was to show up as a massive contribution to the audition, a massive contribution to the director and producer, and a massive contribution to the success of the project. During that 10 weeks I was with her, she got a TV commercial, another TV commercial, a Netflix gig, and a TV commercial, because she didn't show up on auditions to get a job. She show up on auditions to give in the biggest way she could possibly show up as. It's a game changer.
Yes. No, I love that, Will. And in current times where people are inundated with information, inundated with marketing messages, inundated, it's too much. And even like I look at one platform like LinkedIn, which is a place where I really enjoy connecting, I still see every day so many people doing it wrong, right?
Mhm.
You connect, they jump into your inbox. Hey, check this out, what I just did. It's all about, me. And it, like, every time I receive a message like that, I just think, like, isn't this fascinating that there's another person on the other side of this communication, but they're not treating me like a person that you would talk to like we are face to face
Yeah,
with
they
video.
objectify you.
Yeah. They're transactional. They're focused on, like, what can I get from this? And they're
Yeah,
starting from that standpoint.
yeah. And it turns into like, uh, I want you to buy from me. And
Yeah.
if you can't buy from me and I can't buy from you, we neither of us have value to each other. And that is so shallow. And yet so many people are operating from that place. And we need to awaken people that there is a better way to do business.
Yes. So the conversation that people are having that you serve, right, before they cross your path, before they wake up and realize they need to work with somebody like Joe or work with Joe, what's happening? Where, like, what are their roadblocks? What place are they in?
There's a bunch of them. I think that the purpose of a business is to make money. That's the first roadblock.
Mm.
Like, I'll ask people, what do you think the purpose of a business is? And if they say the purpose of a business is to make money, they're either not making money or they're making money and they're miserable.
Mm.
Okay. The purpose of a business is to create a customer, a client, or in medical, a patient. Okay. Without customers, there is no money. There is no business. And I tell people, you need to love your customers. You need to love your customers and you need to love them more than your wife or girlfriend. Because you know what? No money, no honey, no finance, no romance. So, like, customers are your source of income. And if you don't love them, there's that ancient fable, the goose that lays the golden egg. So there's this farmer, he has a goose that lays golden eggs, and he's making money. But he gets greedy, and so he thinks, well, maybe if I just cut the goose open, I'll have all the gold. And he kills the goose that lays the golden egg. Your customers are the golden goose. And if you have a goose that lays golden eggs, don't be greedy and try to squeeze every dollar out of them. If you have a goose that lays golden eggs, you need to hire a goose masseuse. You need to pamper the goose that lays. You need to treat your customers with love and care and respect, and all that.
Oh
And
my gosh, I'm writing that down. You need to hire a goose masseuse. I have not heard that one before, but yes, in my mind, I was like, you need to feed that goose. You need to throw, like,
love.
whatever, yes, whatever that goose wants, right?
And this whole idea, do what you love, share the love, receive the love, is
Yeah.
congruent with that. And that's, like, when we learn to give more, the receiving just happens. Jim Rohn used to say that giving is better than receiving because giving starts the receiving process. And if you work on your gifts, they'll make room for you. And so the big thing is how can we organize you so that your gifts are not only valuable, but they're perceived as valuable. Alan Weiss is a great consultant. He said there's four, how does the $1 million consultant make $1 million? There's four things you need. Number one is you need two ethical people. You need to pour on the value, and the people you're working with need to be able to pay you for that value. You need to have the ethics. The second piece is the perceived value of the buyer. If the buyer perceives you as worth $1 million, they'll pay you $1 million. If I bring you a $4 million in newfound profit you're not currently experiencing, would you share? If I bring you $1 in newfound profit, would you share a quarter? Would you, if I put $4 million on the table, will you slice off $1 million for me? And the thing is if the customer perceives you as worth $1 million, then they'll pay you $1 million. But if they only perceive you as worth $100, they're not going to pay you 101. And so the best way to have high perceived value is to deliver real value. But even though you offer a ton of real value, doesn't guarantee that the other side perceives it. So we have a responsibility to manage perceptions to make sure the buyer understands that. That's the second piece. The third piece is, and this is the biggest reason people don't make $1 million, is you're only going to make $1 million if your self-esteem supports it.
Mm.
If you're charging, $500 an hour and I solve your problem in 10 hours, you paid me 5,000 and you made 4 million, you win and I kind of lose. I put a lot of money in your pocket for only $5,000. And so we need to have the self-esteem and the courage to stand up for what we're worth. And then the fourth piece is you don't get paid what you're worth. You get paid what you negotiate. So you need to talk to Heather up front. You need to negotiate it up front and get it contractually locked in, to hopefully make sure that everything goes as planned. But is that helpful?
No, it is. There's some real, speaking of the golden goose, there's some real golden nuggets in what you just shared, which is that so many of us, and the folks that I serve, which are probably a lot of the folks that you serve, if I were to guess, Joe, they are heart-centered, service-based people. And this discussion around value can be really challenging, right?
Oh, I've taken deep dives on value. I have a whole slide presentation on just what is value, because we don't even know what it means.
I believe it. Well, and especially the part around, value has to be given and it has to be received. But I also like your language around perceived, right? We have to control that. We have to manage that, because there is no value if people don't perceive it.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the ways we do that is big mistake people make. We need to be the trusted advisor and not the salesperson.
Right.
If somebody perceives you as a salesperson trying to earn a commission, your value drops. But you want to be the consigliere. You want to be that advisor, that the Don, that the Godfather, that the leader. I think that's one of the gifts. I've worked so hard. I made $1 million, lost everything, went on a quest for the truth. And when you seek the wisdom, eventually you'll find some. And then, it's refreshing when I speak pearls of wisdom or give those gold nuggets. People are like, wow, that was a gold nugget, because the truth is refreshing.
Yes, it is. And I think it's so easy for the truth, even in business, to get lost in the mire of, like, again, it's information overload. You got to do this, you got to try this, you got to be this. And people being able to decipher, like, what are the fundamentals, what really works, right? There's, a million different voices in that marketplace around what works.
I have a story about fundamentals. So once upon a time, a man walks onto a construction site and there's 3 guys working. He asks the first guy, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm laying bricks. He asks the second guy what he is. Like, oh, I'm building a wall. He asks the third guy, what are you doing? He smiles and he looks through the heavens and says, I'm building a cathedral. And if you're tired of laying bricks in your business and building walls, I'm Joe Nicassio, and I'm a badass business coach, and I can help you build a cathedral. But you know what? You cannot build a cathedral on hustle alone, because if you do, it will fall down and crumble. If you want to build a tall cathedral, it starts with having a strong foundation of strong fundamentals. And that's why I started this employee escape plan coaching program, to give people those fundamentals. And real quick, number 1, choose your business wisely. Number 2, build a brand that's emotional. Number 3 is make an offer, package yourself attractively with good offers and good storytelling. Number 4 is promote effectively, get the word out and make people aware that you exist, and get them to raise their hand. And then number 5 is you need to have persuasion to close the sale and help people. To me, closing a sale is helping people choose wisely for them.
That's right. It's walking them through the path of overcoming their own mindset, their own challenges, their own blocks, to do the next best thing.
And then the last fundamental is, now that you've closed the sale, you got to perform, do the work, deliver the goodies, build a reputation of integrity, that you do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And, this is a big piece for a lot of people. Commitment is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Integrity is doing it every single time. And there is no such thing as partial integrity. You either have it or you don't. And so a lot of times companies, they have a restaurant, they serve good food, they have a good ambience. People come in. I'm sure have you ever had this experience? You've been to a restaurant, you had all those things, and it was a great experience. Then you go to the bathroom and it's disgusting. And it destroys every good feeling. And it's because you didn't have complete integrity with your promise. And so those are fundamentals. Those are, if you do those 6 things: choose your business wisely, brand it properly, package with an offer and story. If you're good at promoting, getting the story out, closing the sale, and then actually keeping your promises, you can actually build a business that's durable, that is failure resistant and risk mitigated.
Mm. Well, I love that you tied it into the risk conversation, only because that's the world I live in, right? It's talking to folks about risk, but your bathroom example is perfect. I talk with business owners and entrepreneurs regularly about what I call avoiding red flag clients and avoiding creating red flag scenarios, right? And the
Yeah,
conversation is about analyzing every touch point that your business has with a client or potential customer and creating consistency. It's about that messaging of like, who are we? What do we do? What experience are you going to have with us? And I love that your frame on it is integrity, right? So that bathroom was totally out of integrity with the rest of the message that that business sent, right? And it
yeah,
spoiled the entire client journey, the entire client experience. And that's what I talk about from the perspective of avoiding creating a red flag scenario, is by having consistent touch points, being consistent in your business, and the legal contracts, the legal support, the legal structure that you put in place to support your business policies, to support your client journey is just one aspect of that. And the follow through, right? Remaining in integrity is huge, because people don't like surprises. They don't want to
right.
be told one thing and have the experience be totally different.
Yeah, if you make a promise and keep a promise and you do it quick, it's called the speed of trust. Stephen Covey's son, wrote a book on that. And if you buy a book from Amazon, they ship it the next day. It's like, we have a very trustworthy relationship with Amazon. But if you go to the DMV and you pay for your driver's license, it takes 3 months to get there. No wonder we don't trust the government, because if Amazon can deliver overnight, why can't the government? It's like, we've seen that people can respond quickly, but they don't. And if the government wanted to improve their own PR, they would do things a lot more quickly. But
Agreed.
I want to come back to this idea of risk and failure,
Mm,
because a lot of people think that business is risky and failure is imminent. And if you start from there, you're actually kind of doomed.
mm.
So is it true that business is risky? I mean, we see Subway restaurants open every day. How many times have you seen a Subway close and go out of business? They have a formula that works. Okay. And a lot of people do. And so, is it true? Can you be certain it's true that businesses fail? No, there are plenty of counterexamples that actually say success is inevitable when you do things right. Risk, Warren Buffett said, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So there's all these heavy feelings of risk and failure. Now, here's the question is, how do you react when you have those thoughts of risk and failure? Now, here's the power question. Who would you be without those thoughts? Who would you be if you, so I have an example I use all the time. Imagine that you have a neighbor that needs their lawn mowed. And they say, Heather, if you come over and mow my lawn or clean my house, I'll pay you $100. So you go mow the lawn, and now you've collected $100. To me, that's called a business success. You're up $100. And say they actually have you come out every 2 weeks and mow the lawn. You get success after success after success. So why do businesses fail? Oh, I'm making money mowing lawns. I'm going to go buy a truck that's $20,000 and $600 a month payments. You are now in trouble, because it's so simple. If your outflow exceeds your income, then your upkeep becomes your downfall. And so we need to get really good at the income producing side, and we need to get really good at controlling thy expenditures. And if you do those things well, you will succeed. And this is what gets people in trouble, is they spend money on crap that doesn't work.
Right. I know this. I can attest to this.
I
And
know it's more complicated than that, but
yeah.
instead of focusing on why people fail, let's focus on how you can succeed, because that's a better conversation.
Oh, it totally is. And so back to my question of what are people experiencing before they go, oh, I need Joe. Like what's happening in their business? Are they just not growing? Are they still trying to explore like square one, how to even set up a business? Where are they at?
Well, there's typically there's some struggle. Are you struggling? That there's some struggle, or there's missing pieces. Um, I think one of the crimes in the whole entrepreneur education space is a lot of people sell partial solutions.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, I learned NLP. They told me it would help me grow my business, but like you haven't even designed a product yet. I mean, one of my clients, one of my past clients, he's taken all these classes. He's taken the peak potentials classes, and he's taking all the landmark classes, and he's taken this NLP entrepreneur classes. And I'm like, what business are you in? And it's like, he hadn't figured it out. And like, how many of these people are actually teaching you to get your cash register to ring? He's like, none of them. I'm like, that's why you should hire me. So they put $3,000 on a credit card. He hired me. But
So is that usually the first problem you solve? Getting the cash
the
register
first
to ring?
problem is not knowing what business to be in.
Yep.
Is one. Not knowing how to like find people, like attracting, marketing, generating leads and interest.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people teach sell to your warm market, sell organically to your list on Facebook. And your list on Facebook, I'm sorry, folks, it's limited to 5,000 people. There's 8 billion people on the planet. And so if you want to grow your business, you have to go outside of those circles into the circles where your people hang out. I got a great story. One of my clients, she was importing Himalayan salt licks for horses. Salt licks made out of Himalayan salts for horses. And she had pallets of these products, and she was doing all the internet marketing stuff. She was she had a website. She was doing webinars. She had her Facebook. She did this stuff for like 5 or 6 months, and she only sold like 3 units. So she hired me. And the first thing I said is, okay, I looked at all she was doing, and I said, let me ask you a question. How many horses do you think are on Facebook? And the answer is none. I said, look, I want you to go to your computer and find out where are all the horse shows, the horse events, where are the horse competitions, where are the tack stores, where are the feed shops, who are the farriers. And then after you get that list, turn off your computer, get in your car and go to those events. And in 45 days, she sold all of her product and had to order more.
That's
because
right.
low-tech effective is better than high-tech ineffective. And sometimes we need to actually get in front of our customers to let them know we exist and have a higher quality conversation than some kind of chat on Messenger, So, we have to look at what's the best way to go about this. And sometimes it is online and many times it's not, or sometimes you need to do both.
Right, right. Well, and I love actually backtracking clear to square one, because I feel like there's plenty of people who could reevaluate if they're having struggles, could reevaluate that very first step in the process.
So I think the first thing is I say, do what you love. Are you not enjoying what you do? They're a good client for me. Sharing the love. Are you effective at sharing the love and promoting and marketing? And if you're having trouble sharing the love or effectively sharing the love and generating those leads and that interest, you're a good client for me. And if you have trouble receiving the love, maybe you're generating leads and interest, but you can't close the sale. I mean, Heather, I've learned 19 different selling systems. I'm a freak. When I was learning from Jay Abraham, I made $1 million, lost everything. And I went to one of his paid seminars. It was like $5,000. I put like $500 on a credit card that I could barely afford that. And after that event, which was mind blowing, they said, Joe, would you like to go to another seminar? I'm like, I can't afford it. You know my situation. They said, we know. Could you barter? And I said, well, what do you need? What could I do? And they said, we need transcription. So they sent me boxes and boxes of audio cassettes of recordings of 30 years of marketing think tanks divided by 30 different topics. And I listened to these things word for word. Some of them were very hard to listen to. And I had on a yellow tablet, I was word for word transcribing these with my hand on the rewind button. And then after I typed these things up word for word, I summarized them and sent those 30 topics into Jay's office, and that stuff all got compiled into the J. Abraham Marketing Encyclopedia. And I spent over 25,000 hours learning what I know about marketing today. And you can't get that kind of education at the university level.
Oh, that's amazing. What a crazy and cool story though, about like what a deep dive that was into marketing.
And truthfully, I made money and lost it. And so the second time around, I wasn't chasing the money. I was chasing the truth. I was chasing the wisdom. So I was putting 12 and 13 and 14, 15-hour days because I was passionate. I went on an obsessive, compulsive quest for the truth of what really works. Because I've learned that so much of what we learned about business is a big fat lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
People say, oh, always be closing. No, always be opening. Most people kill the sale in the first 60 seconds.
Yes, hallelujah to that. So I shared a story, and it's fresh in my mind because the same woman contacted me yesterday or the day before, called me again. But the first experience with her was so unpleasant that like I was so clear on my boundaries. She had said, we met at a networking event, and she said, oh, let's schedule a coffee date, right? And I was like, great. I'm all about getting to know the person and actually, being human in the process so that you know the person and it's not a sales conversation or a business conversation.
You want to know how quickly we lose people? Hi, this is Joe with Rapid Results Marketing. Boom, I just lost you. Or hi, this is Heather with Legal Warrior, Website Warriors. It's that quick because I'm a person with a company, which means I probably have an agenda to make a sale, and that means all your defenses go up. So we shift that. Hello, Heather. Maybe you can help me for a moment. This is Joe Nicassio. You don't know me, or we just met at a chamber mixer, and you seem like a cool person. I wonder if you're open to the idea of getting together for a conversation so I can learn more about your business and see if there's ways I can help you and maybe we can help each other. I mean, how do you resist that?
Right.
And most people like to think that they are open. But, hello, Heather. So instead of saying, hi, this is Joe, which puts me first. Hi, Heather. I'm putting you first. Maybe you can help me for a moment. That's humble. And it's a genuine request for help. And we want to help each other if it's genuine and it's something that's not too much. So the way we open can be the difference between positioning ourselves as the trusted advisor or that salesperson that's just trying to make a buck.
Well, totally. And I think so many people are turned off to, are not receptive to sales conversations because everybody that I know has experienced that conversation going wrong.
Well, and that's because we were never taught to do it the right way. So here's another big fat lie about business is people say sales is a numbers game. No, sales is not a numbers game. Sales is a relationship game. It's, if you treat people like a number, guess what? You deserve all the sales you don't get.
That's right.
Okay. Sales is a relationship game and it's a mastery game. So, if you sell, most people would be happy if you sold 9 out of 10 people, you would think that's good. But let me give you a metaphorical example. Imagine that there's a disease, that you have a medicine, and if people eat that medicine, they live, and if they don't eat that medicine, they die. Okay? And so if you can help somebody and you don't help them, you're actually doing them a moral disservice.
Right.
So if you sell 9 out of 10 people and one doesn't buy your medicine, that means one person died on your watch. Okay. So if you can help people and they are qualified to have your help, you have a moral obligation to do everything you can to make sure that they consume the medicine that's going to help improve their life, their conditions, their business, their legal status, their whatever. Right. And I call that mastery. Mastery is the opposite of the numbers game.
Yeah.
Now, nobody achieves mastery. Nobody gets 10 out of 10 all the time. Like, I have people I know I could help and they still don't buy. And, it's kind of weird. You can kind of see people, pride. That's a big one. Pride goes before destruction. You can see the destruction before. It's like, I don't know if it's going to happen this week or it might be a month from now or a year from now, but it's like a mathematical equation. Your pride I already can see where it's going to lead. And I can't help you until you actually, I can't help you solve your problems if you don't admit to having them.
Well, that's right. The conversation I actually had right before this one, we talked about humility being like one of the most powerful assets you can have in business, right?
Uh,
Knowing you don't know, knowing that you need help to be able to get to where you want to go.
my spiritual lesson in the last 12 months has been humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking more of others.
That's right. And about being open to benefiting from, the knowledge of other people that have walked before, that understand the path, that can help you get from here to there.
Yeah, your ego is not your amigo.
So many writer downers, I know. Well, Joe, so I love this conversation. I mean, you have shared a lot that people could really dig into here. I think you have a gift to share with people that are listening. And for folks that are listening, make sure you pop over, because I'm going to share all of Joe's contact information, his website, his bio, but also a link to this free gift in the show notes. And that's at legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. But Joe, share with us for a minute about your gift.
Yeah, I've got a couple gifts. And the first one is I wrote a book called Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit. And I was asked to speak to 50 people who all had bachelor's, master's, and PhDs. The one thing they had in common is they were all unemployed. And I was there to teach them how to market their skills. And they said, Joe, we don't have trouble finding a job. We have trouble finding a job of the thing we actually learned in the university system. And the first thought was, that's a failure of the university system. How do you get a PhD in something and not be able to do something with it in the marketplace? So that's my first thought. So I asked this group of people, I said, well, if you can't find a dream, nobody owes Heather a dream job. The committee for Heather's dream job is like in your mirror, right? And, if you can't find a dream job out there, how many would like to create your dream job as an entrepreneur by starting your own business? 60% of the hands went up. And then my follow-up question was, well, how many of you are afraid of starting your own business? And like 100%, 100% of the hands went up. And I'm like, oh, this is America, the land of opportunity. Like, why are you afraid to do what you're entitled, what this country allows you to do? And I realized that fear of starting a business was not, it was partly an education problem, but it was a spiritual problem. And that inspired me to write this book, Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit. And I identified 21 things that kill our spirit and 21 ways to overcome each of those. And that book, I wrote it. And if you want to get it, you can go to businessincubatorcommunity.com. And when you join the group, it asks 3 questions. So one of the questions is, would you like a copy of that book? Pop in your email and I'll give it to you. The other gift I have is, once you join that community, actually I have another gift. If you go to the file section, I have a document on choosing your business wisely. And it's about inventorying all of your magic and your skills and your passions and your expertises. And then the third gift is I started this week I have these 5 videos I put on positioning, planning, packaging, promotion, persuasion, not the planning, positioning, packaging, promotion, persuasion, performance. I have those 5 videos, and I just put the first one up in the unit section. So there's a free branding class that's in there now. There's a Choose Your Business Wisely thing, and there's a copy of my book, all free when you join my little community.
Awesome. Well, and I will put that link in the show notes so that people can grab that. They can learn more about you, find out where to connect with you. Joe, this has been so much fun. I feel like we probably just got like the tip of the iceberg based on your experience.
It is.
But I love it.
Yeah.
There was so much good stuff there.
I have so much in my brain and in my heart to share with people. Mm-hmm. And I have to actually regulate it, because if I give you too much too quick, your head will explode. So I have to give little, I'm kind of, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a laptop lifestyle digital nomad. I travel. I'm in LA right now. Sunday, I'm traveling for a week up to Santa Maria. I just spent 3 weeks in Sedona, and I run my business from the road, from as long as I got my laptop and computer connection, good internet connection, I can serve my clients all over the world. Yeah, I mean, I can't give it. I'm like this. I don't know if you ever saw that movie or the TV show Kung Fu, you know, Kwei Chai King. Anyway, it's like
I
I'm this
think
Buddhist.
so.
It's like I'm this monk. I'm actually a Mormon, but it's like I'm this monk, and I like travel and I drip a little wisdom on somebody and they blossom. And then I travel along and I drip a little and they blossom. And it's just kind of my weird journey I'm on.
No, I love it. I can relate. So it's funny because since I was raised Mormon, FYI, so I'm sure we could have a whole other conversation. But as a kid, that was my very first exposure to speaking, was right
Mhm.
in the Mormon
Yeah,
church. Get up and
sure.
like, and as a kid, like I remember they would assign you talks that you'd give in front of the whole congregation. And anyways, the funny thing is I look back on that, and as an adult, I actually love public speaking. My problem,
Yeah.
even though I've got nerves, meaning that I have a lot of nervous energy, it's what you just said, which is that like I have to contain myself and my energy because I just want to like pour it out and give and give people all the things. And I totally actually like our
Eh,
mutual friend Jay Facette. You can over
Yeah.
deliver, right? You can totally over deliver.
Well, business is really about giving and receiving. And the big thing, if I could give people one walk away, because you said you have a lot of heart-centered people
Yes.
that they're big givers.
Yes.
Give with wisdom.
Yes.
Give to the givers. Givers are wired to give back. Don't
That's
give to
right.
the takers. Give to
That's
the
right.
givers.
That's right.
And I promise you that one thing will improve your life so much so quick. Give to the givers.
Well, absolutely. And I love that. People should definitely be watching for that, because one of the things that I talk regularly about is how do you tell that somebody is going to be a red flag client? There are always signs early on.
There's three things I in my book I wrote about this. Number one is innocent, the justice rule, innocent until proven guilty. Okay. And the second rule is the baseball rule, 3 strikes and you're out. And the third one is the gratitude rule. If you give to people and they at least give you that heartfelt appreciation, at least they're coming from the right place. So
Yeah.
those are 3 things that you can size people up real quick. You got to be a little bit innocent until proven guilty, and give people, don't just give people blanket trust. Give little pieces out and let people prove themselves and establish a track record with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that.
So,
Even the concept of the baseball, like the back and forth, right? Because a lot of people that are not the givers, they're the takers, and you can spot them early on because they ask, they complain, they want things kind of out of bounds that your other people that you're serving don't want or request from you, right? There are ways that you can spot like, oh, this is potentially a problematic client.
yeah, there's 2 kinds of buyers. There's the grateful buyer and the reluctant buyer. Okay, the reluctant buyer is always trying to squeeze you. Back in November, I had a client rehire me because he was starting a new business. And he asked me how much I wanted to support him for a whole year. And I gave him a number. He said, Joe, I know how much you give. I'm going to actually pay you more than you're asking. And he paid me $500 more than what I was asking. And my response was, I love you. But so, when people actually are willing to give a little more versus squeeze every dime out of you, if they're willing to give a little more, you're dealing with a grateful buyer instead of a reluctant buyer.
That's right. I love that.
We've covered so much. I know
We've
time is
covered
precious.
so much. I know. I appreciate you. Thank you for those final thoughts. I hope we have the chance to talk again. For anybody listening, please check out Joe and his contact information and his free gifts in the show notes, legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.